The lease liability is equal to the present value of the remaining lease payments. In order to determine this amount, we need to figure out three things: lease term, lease payments, and an appropriate discount rate. In this video, we'll talk about the lease term. The lease term begins and should be determined on the lease commencement date. This is the date the underlying asset is made available to the lessee. So, how does an entity determine the lease term? Well, it starts with the non-cancelable period for which the lessee has the right to use the underlying asset. We then need to consider any renewal periods, but only if at the commencement date it is reasonably certain that the lessee will exercise them. We also need to consider a few things: periods after an optional termination, if the lessee is reasonably certain not to exercise the termination option, and any periods to extend or to not terminate the lease controlled by the lessor. When we consider all of these periods, we'll arrive at the lease term under ASC 842. Remember, we're assessing all of these on the commencement date, and it's important to note that reasonably certain is a fairly high threshold. But what factors should we consider when assessing whether or not an option is reasonably certain to be exercised? We consider all economic factors relevant to that assessment, which include contract-based, asset-based, market-based, and entity-based factors. This would include things such as bargain renewal terms, significant leasehold improvements that the lessee would forego if they did not renew, and the cost of relocation. Don't worry, we cover this and much more in our 2-hour online e-learning course, Leases, Overview of ASC 842. I do want to leave you with a bit of good news. As an accounting policy, a lessee may elect not to apply the accounting requirements within ASC 842 to short-term leases. These are leases that at the commencement date have a lease term of 12 months or less and does not include an option to purchase the underlying asset that the lessee is reasonably certain to exercise. We hope this video has helped you understand more about determining the lease term in accordance with ASC 842.